It's the 7th of August, 2016. Summer's about to enter the history books of moments that should have been shared, treasured, protected. Heat has been climatic, floods where they should not be, drought where should not exist, calamity everywhere, destruction. It is getting so apparent every day. Natural wonders of tornadoes and mudslides, and no one seems to take account of the oddities that are occurring. No, we just choose to keep it moving. If it doesn't serve me, I don't care. If it doesn't put bread in my pocket, I won't waste the time. I'm a firm believer nothing happens by chance, y'all. And I believe that the truth, all things hidden will be revealed, all things lost will be found, and all things broken have an opportunity to be made new. But to truly understand that, we have to do something that we've never done before. That means to take away all the allegory, all the fluff. Don't you know, haven't y'all noticed that things that were more simplistic now have titles and descriptions to have false status when it can be simplified as this or that? Why? Because there's always something looming, something always in the shadows that is taking stock, taking inventory to what you do. How about who you know? But I also know this. You're not a regret. You're not a mistake. You're not an afterthought. And you might be in a place in your life where these were the constant. Because see, we don't talk about the things that we should, the things that matter most, the things that make up what we know as our character. How about our perceptions? Nah, that's too easy to do. But yet we set it to the back because it's tried and true. It is truth. If it doesn't have snap, crackle, or pop connected to it, we don't give it the time of day. We're all looking for a crusade to pick up our shields of justification without doing the research. Do you not realize that this is also what divides us? You know, I wonder sometimes what Marvin Gaye would have said if he were alive today. If Martin Luther King was able to walk amongst us. How about Frederick Douglass or Malcolm X? Would they smile? I do one better. Let's bring it closer to home. What about your lineage? What about those people who have gone through the sacrifices and made concessions so that you could have the opportunity that you have today? But see, I also understand that people today do not understand quality over quantity. That is why there is so many people caught up in a cubic zirconian mindset, not knowing all along they were a diamond. But see, misery loves company, y'all. There's no dialogue. There is nothing but calculated attempts to take siege of how you see the world. But don't you realize that none of that matters when it comes to laying your head at night, taking your shoes off at night, finally closing the door to your reality? None of that matters. What matters is that you are at peace, and you rightfully deserve that. But unfortunately, we live in a world where the things that should be valued and protected are bartered and sold for temporary satisfaction that was never meant to stand the test of time. Who am I talking to? Instead of having the courage to look at that person in the mirror that sees you every day and saying, hey, I love you. We gonna be all right. We're gonna take another step closer to the real you, because you do understand the you that you project in the world is only a snapshot of who you are inside. Who am I talking to? Your character means nothing if you do not know who you are. Doesn't matter what you possess. That is temporary. That is nothing but a tool. So who is the pawn? Who is the captor? I'm a firm believer, y'all, what's going on, y'all, is systematic. You can take out the culture. You can take out the logistics, and you can boil it down to two spiritual lines: those who believe compared to those who do not. And what is sad is the fact that, once again, misery loves company. And that may be the reason why you can't wake up out of that nightmare. That nightmare has become a way of life. Don't you understand? The best you is yet to come, but it will never be revealed until you decide to be honest to you. You're not supposed to be doing time in your mind. You're not supposed to be somewhere that brings you pain and anguish. Who does that? I'll tell you who does that. A person that has been traumatized. A person that has been indoctrinated into what we know as Stockholm Syndrome. Do the research. That is why it's so easy for us to take a position to celebrate and acknowledge bad behavior than to take stock and divide yourself from it. Does it surprise you that death has no loyalty? For when death comes, we shall not know the time nor the moment. And all that will be left will be what you stood for. The path that you laid for those who will come from behind you. Somebody's got to do the work. Someone's got to speak their truth. But that cannot take place until you decide to unconditionally love yourself. Who am I talking to? I have spoken this time and time again. If you base your monetary status as a bartering chip to your happiness, you will never be happy. That is like having a bucket with multiple holes in a well. No matter how much you try, you will never fill it up. It will never be enough. That's not your story. It never was. Why do you think so many people are slaves to prescription pills? Because they had to buy into it. But when you step back, you'll come to understand this. There is no cure in sustainment. Because if it was a cure, you wouldn't need it. Don't you realize 65% of ailments that are attached to the human body come by way of the mind? So if your mind is not right, your body's not going to react. But see, it seems like we have this unconditional love affair for pain. We use that as a means to gauge where we are instead of looking at it, being transparent, and saying to yourself, this is what I need. Doesn't matter how much you want, it will never produce the effect. How about to be emotionally safe? I'm saying this out of compassion. I'm saying this for someone that needs to hear this, because if you do not stop what you are doing, it is going to cost you something that you cannot, something you can't pay. It's going to cost you dear. But here's the thing. I had to correct myself, because I've seen this play out countless times, and I was convinced that in the female gender, truth is something that is always yelled and required, but it's not found, because you hold on to your pride. You hold on to your ego. But the funny thing about it is, you can't even admit to yourself that you are wrong. So how can you initially ask for what is needed when you can't do it yourself? So we are willfully setting ourselves up like a door to attract the things that hold us back. You're not crazy if you're seeing this. This is validation that you deserve better. This is validation for you to finally have courage to tap into that little boy or that little girl that lives in you. That little boy, little girl has not gone nowhere. That's your spirit. You do understand that. And if you want to water it down, you can say that's your conscience. If you want to take a spiritual route, that's your discernment. Because without your spirit, you're walking dead. I've never met a person that did not connect with their spirit and their life turned out the way it was intended. How can it? You're not fulfilling your reason for being on the planet to begin with. You think those tears that have flown, that have flawed, have fell from your eyes? You know, those ones that you're afraid to admit that, yes, you do cry. You do cry because if you didn't cry, you once again, you're not alive because you're not allowing yourself to be vulnerable to you, which is a direct correlation of what is shown in your environment. We are what we attract, y'all. That's the secret. But if you let those people tell you what you need, instead of going within, you'll never receive it. Who am I talking to? You sitting over here disheveled, torn and broken because of what she did. You know why that played out? If you can hear my voice, hear this. You know why that played out that way? Two reasons. Three. Reason one, you wagered your worth. Number two, you spoke that into existence, so it manifested. And three, to protect you for the one. See, a lot of people get that messed up. They don't understand the cycle that is going on. Y'all don't understand why your relationships end? They end to protect the person that is divinely meant to be there. So look at it this way. If you compromising yourself for a box lunch or a trinket, why do you think it hurts? There's no love there. There never was. You can't sit up here and say you don't love me or respect me when you ain't doing it. That's why I tell you, Queen, if you're the wildflower of the earth, God's gift to man, that's why you were given the gift of nurturement to begin with, and you were deemed woman. Why are you aligning yourself with weeds? Their job is to distract you from you, make you feel like the square because you're not in their circle. That's why our elders would always say, maybe your parents would tell you this. If they jumped off a bridge, would you do it too? Who am I talking to? So if you see them disrespecting themselves, you know they're going to disrespect you too because they have access to your life. But more importantly, their job is to teach you what not to do. So there's no solidarity, there's no loyalty. And guess what? Love is not there because guess what? It's not blessed. And where love is not, God's presence is not there either. I know some of y'all are going through that right now. It was all good yesterday, Gerald. He told me everything. He showed me everything. That was the net. She said she'd be there forever, Gerald. Yeah, she was. Until the pain came. And you know what's always there when pain comes? Truth. Fear. But there's a blessing in that too, because divinely, there's free will. Because guess what? You don't have to be there. There's insight through the experience. There's wisdom if you embrace it. That's why I tried to be a voice to you, my queens and my kings. I stand with you. But you must own your honor. If you don't own your honor, you can't own your truth to speak it, because your feet are not grounded, because you're constantly doing this. That's why they always come back. I know some of y'all going through that now too. You saying, Gerald, I ain't talked to that person in God knows when. And when I talk to him, nothing changed. Exactly. What is being shown to you divinely is this. Did you get the lesson? Because that's what freedom is about. That's what is needed for inner peace. See, if you can't be truthful to yourself, your character won't be truthful to your reality, and your reality will turn around and return it tenfold. Energy out is energy received. We are what we attract, y'all. You think you're supposed to be sitting over here feeling like you alone? You ain't alone. You never was. That was a trick the devil wanted you to believe. You saying, well, Gerald, I was high on a hog and now I ain't got nothing. Let me tell you what's going on. Before any blessing comes, you get tested. We know that as a spiritual storm too. You're going to have plenty of people that are going to try to test you because they want to know if you're real. Or are you just putting on a show? But the person that you only have to answer to is the person looking right back. Because you weren't guaranteed to wake up this morning, y'all. Do you understand that? People get that people forget about that. They're too busy worried about what they physically attained than seeing the gifts that were given unconditionally. How about that breath? How about that blessed heart? How about that beautiful mind? And I feel compelled to put this out for somebody, because I think this is going to hit you where it should. And you didn't see it coming because you were caught up in some stuff and your mind was under attack, spiritual attack. Because see, them demons got to stay employed, y'all. Don't get it twisted. You see it every time when you see bad behavior. That's a demon operating in the vessel of that person. I guarantee whoever that person is, they have no connection with God. They don't even speak about it. They are bold and brazen about it because they've got your attention. That's why they're there. Can they change? People change every day. But to feel whole, you must submit to the person that matters the most, and that's the real you. Doesn't matter what your shape looks like. It doesn't matter how much knowledge you have. How's your spirit? Who am I talking to? People want to walk around with a badge of honor because they talk reckless. But in the midnight hour, when you get that knock and it's death, you think death cares about what you have? Nah. Ask those tombstones sitting in a pasture, sitting in a mausoleum. You think they care about that? Those are stories that were either embraced and inspired those that will come from them, or chapters that were left unfulfilled. See, that's one thing that we can't avoid, y'all, and that is death. You doing, let's keep it 100. There's a joke out there. There are two constant things in life: taxes and death. Can't avoid it. So why are you taking your precious time, which is your greatest commodity? And guess what? You got to sign off who you give it to. Like right now, I can't make you click on my name. That's why I will forever be humble. Because I hope that the words that fall from my mouth, because I am nothing but a man that loves God, that protects my spirit. See, I already know when I finally take my walk, because your life is nothing but a journey. You are the hero, not the villain. But if you allow those in the cheap seat that want to emotionally beat you down to mold and shape how you are going to see the world, that's the greatest tragedy ever. Because, see, that's a life unfulfilled. I don't care, and I say this with love, if every day from your conception has been a nightmare. I don't care if you have had to deal with betrayal, deception, or physical abuse. None of that matters. And here's the reason why I'm saying this. This is not to disrespect your pain, but your pain is temporary. You let your pain to be the motivation for the real you to be seen. Because there are people that look like you, that may be connected to you by blood and bone, that may be connected to you by spirit. You might break bread with them every day. You might work with them every day. You may have that choice encounter that you're going to leave a mark with. See, nothing happens by chance, y'all. Nothing. But see, those people that don't see your worth, they're banking that you believe that. That's why we live in a world that looks like Sodom and Gomorrah. That's why we live in a world where sociopaths and schizophrenic get the prize. What is a fool to inherit the earth by way of losing his soul? It means nothing. It means nothing. And that's not your story. So you got to ask yourself, what is it going to take? Because you don't get a badge of honor of being strong by taking the next disappointment. You don't get honor from just compartmentalizing your last bad choice. You don't get nothing for that. Actually, what it does is send a message to those who think They have you oppressed, excuse me. They think they can do it again and again and again. Just shut up. You'll deal with it. I ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. For real? Who am I talking to? Why? Because what is being shown is two things. They have more control over your life than you do. And two, you're afraid to claim it back. What's the point on laying in a bed that don't have love in it? I'll tell you what. It cheats the person that's supposed to be there all along. And I'm a firm believer of this. As long as we put false validation on the things that will never uplift us, it doesn't matter what your color is. We'll be divided. We'll never be able to stand together. We'll never be able to sit at the table, because that requires responsibility. If you're tired of the mistreatment, why won't you identify it? But see, here there's a gray line there, because you have people that will play the martyr in that and try to convince you that that's what they're doing, and that's show. That's all show. That's to appease those who don't want change. That's only adding more of the division. You know what I find amazing, though? Yes, it's important to know your history. But it doesn't matter if you know your history if you don't know you. Why do we make it a point to willfully take second place in our lives? Huh? Why do we do that? And systematically down the road, this is what becomes. The person becomes numb. You may know it as being frozen. You may find it as, you hear this, Joe, I got all these voices in my head and I can't sleep, and I'm up on the internet 5 in the morning. I'm in this bed with this man that don't know my name. I'm chasing this girl that don't care about me. And I'm financially deficient. Don't you understand? That's the devil doing it all. He's just stirring up your life. But see, from a medical standpoint, we can say those are emotional triggers. But even if it was a trigger, doesn't mean that you have to react. Maybe what's required is you just be still. Maybe if you just have the conversation, not with your friend, because they're not your friend, and have that conversation with you. Why are you running around getting violated, looking for validation? You think that they care? I need you to open your eyes. If you don't believe me, look at where you were before they came in it. But it doesn't give you the right to continue to react this way. You see little Shay Shay out there rebelling. You know that's not good for her. She's lost and turned out, but You know that's what she needs is only love. She wants to feel safe, and she's bed hopping. Little man is getting zooted out of his brain every day because he needs mentoring. He needs guidance. You gotta understand something, y'all. When you were born, you didn't have the tools to be an adult. You do understand that, right? Your perceptions are made by those who have the greatest influence in your life. Why do you think reality TV is the way it is? Because systematically they are saying non-verbally, I don't respect you. And this is the image that I want you to embrace. So why you think all of them look like strippers? All of them look like hookers. When they open their mouth, there's no intellect to be found. But they quick to have their hand out for an easy payday. Sure, they'll take the payday for disrespecting themselves and setting back your culture just by the next word that falls from it. So it kind of made me think, well, you know what? Maybe that's what former President Bush said while looking for the WMDs. This is a moment of shock and awe because he was right. Because ever since he stepped in office, everything's gotten worse. Your life is not supposed to play the martyr, y'all. You're not supposed to play the role of the flunky. You're not supposed to play the role of Miss Loose Booty. Go get it. No, that ain't your story. And the moment that you have occurred to say, you know what, enough's enough, I need more, I deserve better, God is going to step in because he gauges your attentions not from what you speak, but what is found inside you. And if you are honest with yourself, you will come to understand this. Everything that is found inside you makes your reality too. I'll prove my point. Think of the time when you said to yourself, I'm tired of these lonely nights. I just want a man. And guess what? Like a thief in the night, got you. He took that and brought you those fools. He took that and gave you women that all had the same commonality. It was called non-growth. Do you not see the correlation in that? Surely you do. Please don't sit up here and say, well, you know, she ain't like that. She is like that. That's why I tell people all the time, kings, stop rushing to go get wifed up. You got work to do, and it's called your last name. It's called your seed. You know what happens when you don't prepare and you act in impulse? You bring a child in the world that you don't have a relationship with, only by routing numbers and support. I think it's kind of wild too, because they call it child support, but the father doesn't support. When did the baby become a payday? It's sad. But do I think that we can turn it around as a human race, as a society? I do. But it's going to take a whole lot of love and a whole lot of transparency starting within ourselves first. You remember when Whitney sang about waiting to exhale in the movie of that? That was also another way of showing you our flaws in the community, as well as dividing the way you think. But the truth is, Whitney could not exhale until she decided to be honest with herself. And when it comes to honesty, guess what? There's that free will again. You have a right to choose. Do I go left? Do I go right? How about say no? Because the word no does not mean forever. It means under review. So if you are allowing someone to give you whatever it is, and it is not of your standards, I'm not saying take a position of ego, a position of manipulation, a position of control. Haven't you noticed the people that have no control have control issues? Who am I talking to? But see, society wants mankind to be promiscuous and sleep with everybody, playing Russian roulette with your mortality. Why? Because he looked like he fell off a magazine? Because the size of his rims? Because the size of his assets? But not one time have you had a conversation about God. You do understand, y'all, demons have to be employed because they don't want to be damned in damnation. So, they will use whatever to sway you from you. That's why I had someone ask me one time, he said, well, Gerald, this is where I am. And this person turned around and, we were on point. The communication was right. And then it went south because that's a ploy. That's a trick to lure you from yourself. So all they did was take and mimic what you were giving back to test your foundation. Who am I talking to? You just met that person last week, but yet he got you on your back. And you're surprised you feel a certain kind of way? Prince said it best, there'll be thieves in the temple. The temple is you. I'm not sitting up here condemning you. I'm trying to get you to see your worth. You do understand if you were to drop dead today, there will not be another you. I don't care if you came from a set of quintuplets. That's your spirit. That's your story. Maybe there's a reason why you're divided from those people. You ever thought about that? Your association shouldn't be by way of pulling teeth. There's actually those people that believe that if there's no struggle in a relationship, it ain't real. I'm going to tell you where they got that from. Because they were reared in that. Let me tell you something, Queens. The man of your dreams will be heaven sent. It's because he puts God first in everything he does. That is the foundation of his intimacy between God and him. That also is the blueprint of his purpose. And that purpose should lead you to you. But guess what? If he does not have a relationship with himself, no matter what his accolades may be, he will never have a relationship with you. And you wonder why relationships fall. Because it's the seed that was planted, and the harvest is the action. Who am I talking to? You think because on the outside you got it going on, but behind closed doors, he's using you as a speed bag? She's running around with her voice on 10, breaking stuff. That's not love. How are you going to be in a situation that is constantly being tested by being destroyed? There's no love there. There's no love there. And that's why there is a hierarchy. That's why you're seeing this. And a lot of people are not talking about this. But this is a problem in the female community. You have females that had this mindset that, okay, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And I'm going to get the job that I want. And then I'm going to add the man last. That's going to be the capstone. And they get surprised that it falls apart. You don't want to, you ain't got to believe it. I'm just telling you. Look at how your life is. If you don't like what's going on, have the courage to tell it. Have a courage to identify it. Maybe now is not the time that you're supposed to act, but maybe it's the time that you take stock and be strategic. Now, I'm not talking, oh, be a thief in the night and I've done all this dirt. Now I want someone to come cape up on me and come rescue me from my problem. But I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. All that's going to do is put you in more calamity. No, it don't work that way. You got to own what you do. That's why it's written. You reap what you sow. That's why addiction don't work. And there's not that much alcohol in the world that can make you feel a different way. There's not enough sex in the world that make you feel a certain way. There's not enough running that you can do to make you feel safe. That's why when people embrace those options, they feel more worse than before they started. And why? Because of fear. Finally, everything's a reality. So you're going to turn around and say, well, you know what? I'm going to disconnect from that emotion. Don't you realize you're choosing to put a shackle in time? You see that play all the time, y'all. Why you think you got that uncle or that auntie that just nobody want to be, they don't want to be bothered with? You hear the disclaimer, oh, they've been like this the whole time. Don't you realize what's been going on is that person has been tormented inside them for endless time. When it comes to the truth, they don't want to hear it. They try to shut you down. Why? Because they're still in pain. And that is also why, Kings, you see this. It is traditionally to do what? You find your bride. You take her to meet who? Mom. Because mom should unconditionally love you. You're her baby. And then she going to give you the seal of approval. Or she going to say, nope, she ain't the one. And I've noticed this too. Now the dynamic has changed because I've seen people will give the seal of approval for financial and social gain. Oh yeah, he got issues. But y'all work through it. Y'all just going through some stuff. Y'all work through it, but the abuse is still going on. See, listen here, Queen. A man can't call you queen if he can't make you feel safe. The least of his concerns is the what we call the runaway bride syndrome. She's with him today, and blink twice, she's with him, and then blink twice again, she's with somebody she was with, and blink twice again, now she's doing a big old 360, but she still ain't going in. Meanwhile, the body count keeps going. The immune systems are still getting. You do understand every time that you engage in sexual activity, your DNA lives in that person. You do understand that, right? I mean, just from a literal sense, why do you think HIV works the way it does? There's because your DNA is connected to that, as well as your blood. You not see the correlation in that? That's why people could be with somebody today, and 10 years down the road, then bam! I'm sorry, Mr. Jenkins, you are HIV positive. And then they run around with their head cut off like, I can't believe it is her. And no. That's why I'm a firm believer. If that person loves you like they say they do, it's show and prove. Their actions speak that. If they love you so much, they'll prove it. How about do this? If they love you so much, why don't you go get a blood test? Ooh, why is that? If a man asks you to go get a blood test, you need to kiss him on the cheek. I wasn't going to say kiss his feet, but that I ain't going to go there. You kiss him on the cheek. You know why? Because he is basically saying he values your body. He values your life by way of protecting his. Because Slim Jim is not thinking long term. He's thinking about pulling your panties to the left and running all up in you. And then he's going to keep on moving. That's why you can't build off of that. You can't build off of broken promises. But you can't build with somebody that don't know who they are. And that is why you see this phenomenon going on now. That is toxifying our communities. You have a whole lot of women that are broken. You have a whole lot of women that have been violated too. You have a whole lot of women that have been betrayed. And you have a whole lot of men in denial. But you know what these women are doing? Instead of taking that moment, first of all, take the stopwatch off your life. I keep trying to tell y'all that. Your life is not a race. It's a journey to be treasured. It's no better blessing in watching someone grow. If you're only watching somebody's growth through social media, Facebook, or there's another picture, you're doing yourself a disservice. You really are. But what's going on now is you have a sea of broken women that want nothing to do with men. They hate men. But guess what? Here's what they won't tell you. Secretly, they hate themselves. So they have a camaraderie or a sisterhood amongst this mindset. And now there is a civil war going on to destroy the patriarchy as we know. That's why I think it was 15 years ago, you heard the dialogue or the tone. I don't need a man. You know, a man didn't make that up, right? It came from a woman that was broken. That came from a woman that refused to take accountability for her wound. Now, I do understand there is the dynamic of rape, molestation, incest. I understand that. But that's not supposed to be the capstone of what makes you. If anything, that should be the testimony of your story. But see, instead of looking that person in the mirror saying, you know what, I love you more than you ever know, and we are going to continue to grow and live because I deserve better, you know what they do? They throw in the towel and embrace an ideology that they think, well, you know what, I can't beat them, I might as well join them. And then they take on the same traits of the abuser. Under the guise of another woman. Men do it too. It's a little different for men because, see, it starts when they're young. They may have had that mother that always disrespected everything they did. Oh, you ain't nothing. You just like your father. You're dumb. You're good for nothing. Your greatest wounds are verbal, emotional wounds because you can't see the scars. You know why? Because they sit close to the spirit. And eventually the spirit breaks down. And you know what happens to a broken spirit? It becomes under attack. And some people give up. And they say, well, you know what? This is my life and this is all it's going to be. And I'm just going to go here, lay here and take it. Meanwhile, inside them, that little girl and little boy is saying, no, this ain't my end all be all. And that's where that anger comes from. Instead of having the courage to stand up, how about go talk to someone? Especially in our community, we don't talk about mental health. We don't talk about counseling because we want to attach a stigma. Oh, you must be crazy. You are crazy to not be happy. And unfortunately, people go through their lives unfulfilled. They end up marrying someone that will only be the new abuser, the new oppressor. Guys do it all the time too. They think that, well, I got this, I'm gonna marry her because she's got a high sex drive and I can get it like a speak it. And I'm cool with that, even though she has me emotionally disheveled. And that's one of the reasons why people cheat. Because secretly, they're searching for themselves by way of another body. Because they say it's new, another experience. No matter if it leaves you with more scars to begin with. That's why everybody they're embracing this Sodom and Gomorrah mindset. That's why I was trying to make light when I said, oh, people are walking around treating their bodies like bowling balls. If I can stick my fingers in there, I'm good. For what? A shiny vehicle you didn't earn? A house that has no love in it? Or your extensions living the examples of what you had to deal with. The woes of a father is the sins of the child. And we wonder why our babies are getting cut down every day. And here's the thing, and I'm going to shut my mouth because I've ran my mouth long enough. I just want you to know that you are loved, you are prayed for, but I can't live your life. I've got to live mine. I have to solidify my story, and you're required to do the same. If your environment does not uplift you, why are you there? Queens, kings, you're with them because they make you go bang zoom, but you don't feel safe. You can't feel. Freedom is to be able to feel safe. If they don't make you feel safe while you're there, don't you realize that's what proverbially making a deal with the devil is? You're living it. And you're teaching your young that it's okay not to reach for the stars, to make their dreams a reality. Why should I do that, Mom, when you didn't do it? Why should I do this, Dad, when you were nowhere there? Y'all need to stop ragging on your fathers out there, because what you don't realize, there's a lot of fathers out there that want to be in their children's lives, but they had to make a concession. Do I save my sanity and become the image of what they think I am as a father and prepare for the intended time? Or do I go through the hell to watch them die slow? But we ain't talking about that. Why is that? And here's the last thing, and I'm going to shut my mouth. You can't have it both ways. Why is it that we want to turn around and say, well, our sons and daughters are getting killed in the street, lives cut short, we're burying our babies, when our babies should be burying us? Well, yet we don't want to talk about who they really were. We don't want to talk about that. Well, you know what? Johnny was a wild child. Johnny was out there with that mindset of live by the gun, die by the gun. We don't want to talk about Sarah out there slinging that rock. We don't want to talk about Susie not being educated, and she's bringing another child in the world that she can't take care of because Susie don't know her. Why do you think you see this so much? You see women, you get to a point like you're in your 30s, but you were a teen parent, and then you go through this mindset of, well, you know what? I didn't get to do all this because I had to raise you. Now there's resentment on the child, making the child feel like they were a mistake. And then what does this happen? What happens? The mom turns around, and inside her mind, she's reliving, so she thinks, the years that she missed. Don't you realize that child may have been the reason that protected you from going through unnecessary pain that you're going through now? Who am I talking to? You ain't supposed to be in your 50s getting your string popped. Oh, that's Mr. Larry. Mr. Larry don't give a damn about them. Mr. Larry there because of your scent. And God's not there. That is just nothing but another lesson. And we've gotten so bad as a society that you, my queens, you're supposed to teach our princesses growing up. You're jealous. You're jealous. Don't you know the older you get, the more grace you become? But you are jealous because of her blossom. Your daughter has a better body than you did, and you resent it. So you set her up to fail. Only that she's going to do is repeat the cycle that you went through times 3. We ain't talking about that. Why is that? 1987, I'll never forget, the Washington Post put on the headlines, the new endangered species, the black male. Life expectancy between the age of 21 and 25. I was 18, getting ready to turn 19 when that, I never forgot that. I never forgot that. I refused to be what they projected. This is not a race thing. This is a human race thing. Because guess what? Little Bobby in Idaho, he's still getting gunned down. You just don't see it. Little Melissa in Arizona, she's still doing time. Little Brandon is still getting strung out. Because we're already focusing on what Darnell's doing. Why can't the headlines be good? And then what y'all don't realize, with all the smoke and mirrors going on, you got people that want their hand out and they want to get paid off of bad behavior. Don't you understand this is cause and effect? And it is also an epitome that the parent failed. Johnny wouldn't have been on that block if Johnny had the tools he needed. Does it happen? It does. But very slight. Especially as a father. A father is not going to sacrifice his son. But if you, queens, keep dividing him from what he needs, you've already sacrificed him anyway. You might as well go on ahead and pick his suit out, or go get that jumpsuit with them serial numbers on it, because you're not going to have them long. And here's the funny thing. I heard this the other day, and it made me think, and I'm going to shut my mouth. Somebody said, for single parents, single moms are not single. They have the government. That's the husband. And for the men, you have the prison system or death. So the commonality is, until we can come together, those are your options. That's a lie. That's a lie. I can't make you love you, but I hope that you will. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. I don't care what you're going through. This ain't the end all be all, because you got air in your lungs. That means you have the opportunity to turn it around. But you got to have the courage to love yourself, to allow yourself to heal. Don't worry about those people that are trying to hold you back. They're trying to hold you back because they can't do it themselves. And until you see your worth, you're doing time in your mind, and misery loves company. It's time for you to get up out of that table and claim your life back. You're worth it. Have a blessed week.